taking flight. Card Spring Training, sponsored by Woods Basement Systems.
First, what have you heard feedback-wise from Stubby and maybe from Wilson?
Yeah, he's adjusting well. He finds it important, makes it easier to make progress. But he's been working hard at it. So you see him out here first thing in the morning, it's 8-something, and he's already on the turf field with Stubby and Cheo and the guys. So yeah, footwork around the bag, understanding not only feeling the ground ball and where to throw, but also where to be on a cutoff and relay, kind of defending the bunt, those other fundamental things that he's been covering outside of just his workload.
A lot of people think
A lot of blessings, thank you.
the first base is easy, but there's a lot that goes into it for positioning, footwork, things like that, right? I mean, it's not just go there and pick it up in a day.
No, I
right?
think people underestimate how difficult first base is. They usually think you can just throw anybody over there. There's a lot that goes on. It's not just receiving a throw. I mean, where to be on certain plays, but also just the footwork around the bag, close plays, throws that take you up the line. There's a lot to it, but he's taken to it well.
It's not the first time organizationally you all have kind of gone through this process of trying to work through a guy there. What have you learned maybe from past attempts at this that sort of have been difficulties or speed bumps that you're able to kind of adjust to now?
Yeah, guys feel sped up in a game when they're at a new position. First base is interesting because you have to get to the bag for everybody else to be able to do their job. So letting that be the focus of playing at a spot where you're comfortable getting to the bag and you don't feel rushed is usually the first thing to check off. And as they find that more comfortable, then they could worry about playing the hitter a little more, but at first it's just their comfort in getting to the bag. Yeah.
You see it with catchers, it's obviously a position that's used to having to be dialed in on every single pitch. Is that a benefit to some extent to having a guy who already is that aware of like every single component of the game?
Yeah, you want all your defenders to finding it important to lock into every pitch, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We saw go for it.
No, go ahead.
We saw a cool moment between JC and Arenado yesterday where they were kind of talking back and forth about what they individually want to improve. How important is that to see that conversation happening this early on in spring?
Yeah, that's the key to the whole thing. It's guys that have experience, that have failed, that have had success, sharing that with those that are trying to accomplish some of the same things. And you want to create opportunities for that throughout camp, whether that's in the type of defensive groups you put them in and you're strategic about where they're hitting and the groups that they're hitting with and who's in those groups, so that some of that happens throughout the day without them having to think about it. So it's awesome, one, for Nato to be sharing those experiences, but for the young guys to be able to take advantage of it as well, you know.
Only a little bit toward that end, Michael McGreevy coming into a big spring, an opportunity for him, facing some of the mainstays of your lineup yesterday. What did you kind of make of how
he looked good? He looked really good, man. That sinker is real. It is moving a ton. He's commanding it. His other stuff he had good feel for. So it was fun watching him yesterday. And there's a level of confidence when you watch him that part's fun to watch too. But him, Fetty, that whole group showed well yesterday. Yeah.
That short-term, long-term discussion that we're probably going to have happen a lot this spring with McGreevy. Where does he fit in terms of that? If he's pitching really well and you have 5 starters ahead of him, is there a place in the bullpen for him? Do you look?
Yeah, he's competing to be a starter.
Okay.
Jose Guerrero's new guy to camp. What have you been able to learn about him and just what he offers?
Love his personality, brings a lot of energy, super positive, and is willing to do whatever's needed in order to find a way in the lineup. So plays short, but can also play in different positions. He offered to do just about anything. So my conversations with him have been brief, but so far I've enjoyed them.
Because of that versatility, is there a certain spot we might see him more of, or that you would like to see him more?
As camp goes on, we'll kind of have a better idea. Yeah.
We've mapped out a plan for Quinn Matthews yet. I know maybe next week on the road, but have you thought about where you may try to slide him in, and what have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, what we've seen has been good. His sides have looked good. The reports on him obviously have been really positive, and yes, we've thought through where to slide him in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You don't have a day yet?
We do. Yeah.
With Wilson at first, Yvonne behind the plate is one of those guys getting more opportunity. Put a lot of work in on his arm and defense over the offseason. Have you seen that come to fruition already?
We have. We've seen him throw a couple times. There's definitely more carry to it. Footwork is better. and now you just want to see that continue to play as we get into games where he's having to throw guys out. But as far as what the work he put in the offseason is starting to carry into what we've seen in camp, it's been good. So credit to him, man, because it was a lot of work, a lot of trips from Panama to the States. We work with certain guys, so my hope is that we start to see what we've seen in practice carry into the game.
Ollie, other than throwing arm, is there aspects of Yvonne defensively that you guys are kind of looking for this spring to see him take that step?
He's taken some great steps when it comes to framing and blocking. I think the area where low-hanging fruit for improvement has been on the running game. So that's been the main focus right now.
This also has something to do with Herrera, but when we talked yesterday about finding balance with the offense and the defense in the lineup, are there certain positions where you're going to prioritize offense or defense more than the others? For example, catcher, shortstop, center field. Usually in Cardinals teams prior, those have been the three that have really emphasized defense.
Again, this is normally I can just give you a straight answer to that. One, it's early, but two, that's where the bigger conversation of mapping out our future comes into play. It's not just what's best for us right this very second. So as we get further into camp, we'll have those discussions with the front office and make sure that everybody's on the same page.
We all know the time commitment that is asked of catchers preparing for others, essentially.
Yeah.
What's the upside offensively for Wilson?
I think it's high. I mean, when you think about the catching position and all that goes into it, there's a lot of preparation. And I'm not talking about preparation day of. We're talking about preparation days leading into that game where you're getting ready for a new lineup every 3 games. You're getting ready for, a lot of different things that are going to be thrown your way of how to navigate a lineup, the guys on the bench, new pitcher coming from AAA that you're having to learn on the fly to make sure you're using him properly and calling the right pitches and what his strengths and weaknesses are. So there's this constant prep work for a catcher that takes away from when you only have so many minutes in the day, and it takes away from other areas. So for Wilson to not have to worry about that side of it and just get ready to thump, could be fun.
Ollie, one more on Matthews. His locker's right next to Sonny's, which is not an accident, I'm sure. Yeah, just a mere coincidence. How valuable can that be to a young guy? He said he's asking 3 or 4 questions a day and trying to not ask too many.
No, that's perfect. Like that's the reason behind it. Right? You want to find opportunity. You're wanting to find opportunities for that stuff to happen organically, where they're not having to think through it. They're just sitting at their locker. They look to the right, and here's a guy I can gain a ton of wisdom from. So you try to set up opportunities like that, from how you set up the locker room to the groups defensively, to the hitting groups, to the stations and rotations, where you're just trying to maximize as much of those type of interactions as you can. And that's, to his credit, he's taken advantage of it. Hopefully some other guys do the same.
I actually wonder how does that, do you come up with it? I mean, that one's kind of obvious, something in the top pitching prospect, but do you guys come up with that? You come up with it, different coaches, and talk about it?
Yeah, so we spend a decent amount of time as a staff thinking through those opportunities, and thankfully I'm not having to be the only one thinking through how to best do that. You have Scalzo and Jay and Pop and Stubby and Brownie, and you have everybody thinking through these, like our video crew is thinking through opportunities to do it. So you get together every morning at 7 a.m. and there's a lot of staff members in a room, and we're thinking through how do we maximize that today. And then at the end of this workout, we'll all get back up there and we figure out if we did it or not, and if there's adjustments to be made, and then we repeat it tomorrow. Yeah.
And John Jay talks about Walker. Is the number one thing the jump, or is it the route? Is it recognizing pitches, or what's the number one area where he could maybe make a jump?
I think everything those are all different categories that we want to see improvement in. I think if you were to boil it down to like the underlying theme, I think it's the intent behind all of those. So it's creating a routine that's purposeful. And I think we'll see all those categories that you just mentioned kind of tick up. But it's allowing him to have ownership over that routine is going to be the key to all of that. Yeah.
A little interesting, 5 days with position players just before then race into a game.
What about it?
Feel pretty like a sprint here to the game this week?
man, but once I know what it is, it's just becomes the norm. Like we just prepare for that. So I haven't, be quite honest with you, thought of it as a sprint or it being fast or slow. It's just these are the amount of days you have. Here's how we're gonna break up those 5 days in order to be ready for it. Yeah.
Thank you.